Greetings, unsettled souls. Welcome to The Correct Views. Sam I be Gangi doing political commentary or whatever you call my babble for the media speaks. Going to be a short show today. Got a scratch off ticket. And I'll tell you about that story in a minute. It's going to be a story that sticks with you. How's that? I'm getting a lot of Rand Paul this and Rand Paul that. People wanting to know more about Rand Paul, blah, 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 blah. I don't have that. For those of you that I don't have the high def up, so I can't see myself. So I'll be clicking all show. I'm getting a lot of Rand Paul this, Rand Paul that. And everybody wants to know, is he going to be this great president? Is he as good as Ron Paul? Is he going to be a Jeb Bush? Why does somebody have to be either God or Satan to everyone? I mentioned yesterday, Obama is terrible, therefore Vladimir Putin is wonderful. Do you ever stop to think that maybe they're both awful? Well, do you ever stop to think that there might be something in the middle of awful? Maybe mostly good? Well, that would be Rand Paul. I've said it before, I'll say it again because I'm getting a lot of comments regarding him and I keep mentioning him. He's not Ron. He isn't. He's not Ron Paul. He's not as good as Ron Paul. He doesn't hold a candle to Ron Paul. Okay, I get it. He has made condescending remarks to the pot growers of America. I understand all of it. I do. But to say that he is somehow going to be a terrible president or an evil president, that's not true. Rand Paul is not evil. So to call Rand Paul evil is a stretch. It's a huge stretch, friends. He's not evil. He's just not as good as Ron Paul. So what's the answer? Well, a lot of it depends on who the libertarians run, but it also depends on more than that. You could argue that it depends on how close is Hillary to the White House if she's running against Rand. Now, again, someone listening to this is going to go into the direction of, well, you're picking the lesser of two evils. No, voting for Jeb Bush over Hillary Clinton is voting for the lesser of two evils. Just because Rand Paul isn't great does not mean that Rand Paul is evil. You can be less than greatness and still not be evil. So don't give me the lesser of two evil arguments because that's not true with Rand at all. He's not evil. But I want to get into a couple of the newest stories I got before I get into this lottery ticket. Rand Paul accepts award, argues with Lindsey Graham again. Now, Christelle, if you would like to undo this bet with the lottery ticket, I need to know about it. Giving her one last chance to undo this. Their endless fight may be valuable to both of them. Just a few hours after Lindsey Graham finished arguing in absentia with Rand Paul, the Kentucky senator, this is from Bloomberg, the Kentucky senator walked to a podium not far from the Capitol to receive an award. Paul was one of three recipients of the Constitution Project's Constitutional Champion Prize, recognized for his work on criminal justice reform, NSA reform, and the separation of powers. When he took the mic, Paul spent 12 minutes discussing crime, calling for an end to mandatory minimum in all sentencing disparities. Then he swung back at Graham in absentia, and not by name. One unapologetic senator, who I've had a few rounds with, said, "If you're not talking to terrorists, why are you worried?" Paul said, meaning spying on you. If you listening to this aren't talking to a terrorist, then why do you care? He goes on to say that he would censor the mail if he could. Really? This senator goes on to say that if you're an American citizen and you ask for a lawyer, you just tell him to shut up. Really? Have we stooped so low that that is our standard? If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. It's a long way from innocent until proven guilty. It says a quick ABC News report on the speech informed readers that Paul had taken an apparent jab at Arizona Senator John McCain. It was actually Graham who had said nobody should worry about metadata collection unless they talked to terrorists. It was Graham in a hallway interview on the Hill, who said that he was hypothetically all right with male censorship. And it was Graham who got into a 2011 floor argument with Paul over whether enemy combatants, be they foreign or American, deserved phone calls to lawyers. Paul's endless all right. Paul's endless argument with Graham might be valuable to both of them. All right, guys, I'm just going to cut to it. I'm going to be donating to Paul at the end of this. Christelle, luckily, is not making me do the entire ticket, which is great. I'm really, really happy because it was her call here. My wonderful fiance, Christelle, the South Carolina senator who said this weekend that he is 91% sure to run for president, never seems happier than when tag teaming with McCain to criticize Paul. There is simple structural reasons why this argument keeps exploding. Both Graham and McCain are Capitol Hill natives, ever ready to stop in the hallway and talk to reporters, ever readier to do a quick cable TV hit. If they know how to pass up a spat over foreign policy, they've never tried it. By contrast, Paul is more selective about his interactions with the media. He no longer takes many questions in the hallways of Congress. He'll appear on Fox News, but remains hesitant about MSNBC 5 years after Rachel Maddow dragged him into the quicksand interview about his Civil Rights Act. Paul is perfectly content telling primary state voters of his civil liberty fights. In Washington, his debating partners have endless opportunities to fire back and diminish him. Christelle, make sure you email that link. I need it for the show, the behind the scenes queen. The award reception was on more comfortable turf, even though Paul was literally surrounded by people he'd tangled with. Between speeches, Paul sat at the head table between Washington Post editor-in-chief Marty Barron and attorney Debo Ajibayel, a 2014 nominee to run the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, whom Paul had voted for. It says Paul made a joking reference to the Post coverage of him, which has included multiple stories by reporter David Farenthold about Paul's policy evolution and the problems posed by his father, a former congressman from Texas. Then he praised the paper for running investigations of civil forfeiture policy stories that are changing minds and getting bills passed. We'll lose a great asset to our country if we lose our newspapers, Paul said. It goes on. Barron, who was at the gala to present an award on Twitter, joked about the friendship he'd built with Paul over these past few moments. Adigbal didn't talk much to Paul, telling Bloomberg that they'd just exchanged a hello. In 2014, after police unions attacked the defense of Mumia Abu-Jamal, the attorney became politically toxic. Paul joined a solid block of Republicans and 7 Democrats in opposing the nomination. According to Adigbal, Paul didn't even request a courtesy visit or interview before his vote. And after Adigbal, why am I having so much trouble with that name today? Adigbal introduced Pat Leahy, the Vermont senator, spent a little time praising him. Debo, you're a hero to my family, said Leahy. You defended the Constitution for all Americans, even if it might cost you in your own career. You stuck up for the Constitution. I can't think of anything I admire more, Leahy paused. Everybody here knows what I'm talking about. That's why they all admire you. So basically what I'm trying to say here is he didn't come out quite as vehemently, quite as teeth out as many libertarians would have liked. Many Ron Paul supporters, many Gary Johnson, Jim Gray supporters. I voted for Johnson and Gray. Both Christelle and I donated to the Ron Paul campaign. She penned in Ron Paul. And in Ohio, pen-ins don't count if they're like, she still did it. I get it. But do you hear any other politician who currently has a chance of winning talking about the things that Rand is talking about? I don't want to talk about the things that Rand isn't talking about. That's why he's not great. We've already established this. He's not evil. and he's standing up for a lot of good things. I want to do one more story here, and this is for all the people that call Rand Paul sexist. This would be the dumb deal of the day, but we're only doing 2 stories. Rand Paul, sexist to say Hillary Clinton should be treated as aggressively as a man. Thank you for the link, Christelle. That was quick. GOP presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul told CNN State of the Union on Sunday that it would be sexist to think that Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton should not be treated as aggressively as a man. Think about it. If Rand Paul was to say, well, I can't really debate her like I do Obama because she's a woman, that would actually be sexist. This is treating her as equally as he treats anybody else. And Rand can be a little snippy. It's one of the reasons I don't like him. I don't like the way he treated Luke Radowski. I think his head has grown a little since he has come into Congress. I'll be fair. But he's right on this. He's perfectly right on this. It says, I think that it would be sexist response to say, oh my goodness, she deserves not to be treated as aggressively because she's only a woman, Paul said in reference to Clinton. I'd never say that about anybody. CNN host Dana Bash asked Paul, what about if you're on the stage with Hillary Clinton? Will you be cognizant of the fact that she will be a female opponent? I'm always polite, and even in all of the interviews where I'm accused of maybe being too aggressive, I've never yelled or screamed. I don't get out of control. I do try to be polite, and I've always treated it that way. I would treat her with the same respect I would treat a man, said Paul. I don't know that he's always polite. I don't think he was very polite to Luke Radowski, but he doesn't yell, he doesn't scream, and he is fair. Yes, and he treats everyone the same way. I don't come into an interview thinking, okay, it's a woman versus a man kind of interview. I just think she's going to ask tough questions. She's going to ask tough questions, and I have to be prepared, he added. You know what? That in no way, shape, matter, or form is sexist. And friends, that brings us to the lottery ticket. I went to the store and I told Christelle that I was dared to buy a lottery ticket, that if I scratched the lottery ticket off, I would give all of the money in it to Rand. Well, it just happens that we're getting married in July. And it hit for $200. She then wanted me to put it in the wedding. But some people who listen to this show were going to accuse me of not keeping my word if I didn't do it. But she was the one who made me buy the lottery ticket. So technically speaking, the money was hers and she was having me give it. So anyway, what I'm saying is I am donating $10 to the Rand Paul campaign, not the whole $200 because she wants it for the wedding. That's fine. Also, I will do this. How's this? Until I see who the Libertarian candidate is, as it stands right now, I'm supporting Rand Paul until one of 2 things happen. Until the Libertarian candidate is chosen, or until I find a candidate who has all of the attributes that Rand Paul has, who is not evil, how about that, and who has a likelihood to win. I'm not endorsing him yet, but I will say this. Prior to him saying something dumb, which all politicians tend to like to do, I don't think Rand Paul is evil. I think that Rand Paul is somebody who needs to not be held up on a pedestal like Ron is. But I don't think he's the lesser of 2 evils. And there you go. There's my little freebie show here. Giving money to the Rand Paul campaign, sending him $10. What the hell? And I'll invite him to the wedding. How's that? As long as he's polite. I'm kidding. All right, friends. Good night. God bless. You're listening to The Correct Views. Sam I.B. Gangi reporting for The Media Speaks. Go to themediaspeaks.com and look up the work of Kyle, Court, D. Lake, and myself. And I'm gonna tell you what. All money donated to the show goes towards a better show. And I want to thank Angela, My dear Angela sent $30 to the show. Guess what? We're going to have graphics up soon. We're going to get graphics back up and get running. Why? Every dollar you give to us goes towards a better show, and we appreciate it. So, good night, friends. God bless. And remember, it's brought to you by Sticker Junkie, stickerjunkie.com.